Merry Christmas. It's great to see you all here tonight. Welcome. You know, we remember the birth of Jesus as an historical event, and the gospel that Brian just read certainly locates it in a particular time in history. We heard about who was the emperor and who was the governor. But what difference does this historical event make in our lives? What is the meaning of the birth of Jesus 2,000 years ago to us now, in our day, today? It is no accident that we celebrate the birth of Jesus so close to the longest night of the year. The calendar has shifted over the years, but December 25th used to be the shortest day, longest night. It was that turning point, which meant that each day after would see a lengthening of the hours of daylight. Most religions have some way of recognizing this time of darkness and the shifting toward light. Hanukkah, for example, is a festival of lights, remembering the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem and the miracle of the oil lamp, which had only enough oil to burn for one night, yet burned for 8 nights, just long enough for them to make more oil. In Hanukkah, the miracle is God's provision of light. On Christmas, the miracle is also God's provision of light. The birth of Jesus symbolizes a light to us in the darkest times. The birth of Jesus is the way we experience the fulfillment of God's promise to us, to be our God, to be Emmanuel, which means God with us. This God who is with us, this God who takes on our flesh and blood, born in humility in the poorest, most backwater part of the Roman Empire, is still with us. This is not just an historical event. It's a sacramental moment, meaning it's an outward and visible sign of the inward and spiritual grace of the light of Christ that is born in us tonight. God with us means exactly that. God is with us in good times and bad, in times of joy and in times of grief. God is with us when the unthinkable happens. I keep thinking of the shooting in Newtown and all the unanswerable questions that have been asked about that horrific tragedy. Last week, we had a prayer service here in the church to pray for the victims of that shooting as well as their families and everyone who was affected by it. And we said a prayer at that service that has been very much on my mind. I keep thinking about it because of what this prayer tells us about the nature of God. The prayer went like this: Holy God, you are found in our grief and our sorrow. You are found in the communities who gather in prayer. You are found alongside the victims, wounded and slain with them, and in the courageous ones who tried to help and comfort them. In your mercy, work within us, even as we grieve, to be agents of your healing and peace in our time. While this prayer is written for that particular tragedy, it names a profound truth about the nature of God. God is with us, always. This is what the incarnation of God in the person of Jesus is about. And this prayer is really a Christmas prayer, a prayer that recognizes that no matter what happens, no matter what we encounter in life, God is there with us, not judging or condemning, but providing us the light by which we find our way. The deep darkness of winter is not something that we encounter much. We have street lamps and night lights and ambient light from the cities in which we live. It takes some travel for us to go far enough away to really experience that profound darkness of winter, to encounter that darkness that we can only find in places so far removed from civilization. But we know what it's like to be in the dark, to have questions that have no answers, to be stuck in painful, unresolvable situations. We know what it's like to be in the darkness of grief, to grieve what we have lost, whether that be a family member who has passed away, the end of an important relationship, or even the loss of our dreams. All of these things can leave us in the dark. Yet in it all, we have Emmanuel, the God who became human to be with us, so that we might know the way to God. This Emmanuel is our light in the darkness, and it is what we celebrate this Christmas Eve. In just a moment, we will have a time of silent reflection, and we're going to extinguish the lights on the altar and the torches on my right, and we're going to dim the lights of the church so that we are sitting in darkness. Then we will light the Advent wreath, one candle at a time. I want you to take note of how powerful the light from each candle is, how much light it can bring into the darkness of this big space which we're in. I invite you to take time to pray during the lighting of the wreath. Ask God to show you the light of Christ alive in you, in those places of darkness in your life. Ask God to show you the light of Christ in whatever you grieve, in whatever hurts, in whatever provokes anxiety and fear. Ask God to show you the light of Christ in you, wherever you need it to be, so that you may know the fullness of God in your life and may share this light of Christ with others.